So we're back for the Tarran Mackenzie edition of How on Earth He Won the British Superbike Championship. I'm going to do this really weird thing where I'm going to interview my brother.
Hi.
Right, so what we're going to do, this interview, we're basically going to go back, because obviously Taz has won the British Superbike Championship now, and it all looks fantastic on social media, but I know what went on behind the scenes leading up to that point. So we're going to talk about all the troubles it took over the last few years to get there, and also a special thank you to my Patreon members who have asked some questions. So I'm going to ask you these questions as well.
Right.
So the first thing I want to go back to is your Moto2 season, because that's kind of where this started.
Mm-hmm.
And talk me through what it was like racing in Moto2.
So my Moto2 season came about by Danny Kent parting ways with a German team called Kiefer Racing, and I got the opportunity to go there. I was performing quite well in the UK at the time, and it was a bit of a once in a lifetime opportunity really. They don't really take riders from BSB, the UK Supersport, and I got an opportunity to go, so I went. I rocked up to the first round in Le Mans with never met the team, never ridden the bike, never been to Le Mans. I had new leathers, new boots, new gloves. The only thing that the same was my helmet. And so I was chucked right in at the deep end. That was like maybe like a third into the season. So I was chucked right in at the deep end and did 13 Grand Prix starting from Le Mans and ended in Valencia. And after about maybe 8 Grand Prix, or maybe 8 or 9 Grand Prix, I had an offer to come back to BSB with McCams, who I was riding for previously in Supersport before I left to go to Moto2. So start of 2017, I was riding Supersport for McCams Yamaha, got the opportunity in Moto2, left McCams, went and did Moto2, did about 9 Grand Prix, and then I re-signed for McCams again in Superbike because season in Moto2 was tough. The bike wasn't the most competitive. The team was good. I was just very inexperienced looking back on it now, and it made me grow up. There was a lot of positives to take from it. It was tough with crashes and not having the best feeling on the bike. Change of crew chiefs but looking back now, going to BSB, it taught me a lot and it kind of cut a lot of corners out getting to BSB. So. I had a best result of 15th in Japan, which was like a win for me, and then ended in Valencia, and then that was that, and then came back to BSB for 2018.
How many crashes did you have in Moto2?
I don't know how many. I think it was around 15 crashes I had in 13 races, so it wasn't ideal. But
you didn't really injure yourself that year, did you?
No, I never injured myself once. I had a couple of bangs on the head, one in Austria, but. That was about it really, but I was lucky to be in the suit, so I was wearing an Alpine Stars, and there was a lot of crashes. The team were really nice about it though, and they were fine with me, and got away with it. So it was just a tough year. The bike wasn't the most competitive. I had a really experienced teammate in Dommy who was really nice to me, but it was just a tough year for someone like me coming into the class. If it was in a different scenario, it could have been, might have turned out a little bit different, but that was the scenario, and it ended the way it did. But it gave me an amazing career in BSB.
And the one positive of all those crashes was that we got to keep one of the frames, which can at some point in the coffee table.
Yeah, I don't actually know where that's gone.
Mad Mark will have that somewhere.
Yeah.
So with it, you've then come back to BSB in 2018. And that was your first time on a superbike, and you also had a teammate. I want to talk a little bit about your teammates. Your teammate that year was Josh Brooks.
Yeah.
What was it like being teammates with him from the first test?
Josh is someone that I came into the paddock in 2010, so he's always been this big superbike rider to me, so I was excited to be his teammate. He was an okay teammate. I kind of, again, looking back, when I was his teammate, I felt like I was the puppy, and he was like I wanted to learn and just try and be mates with Josh and learn off him as much as possible. But he was there to do a job to try and win the Superbike Championship, and the relationship didn't turn out how I pictured it would. But as teammates go, he was all right. He definitely pushed me a lot at the start when he was fast straight away, obviously. And I could see what he was doing on the data and stuff, and I could learn off him that way, which was good enough for me. And then, he didn't have the best of seasons that year, as he still finished third or fourth in the championship, but as his seasons go in BSB, they're normally pretty good. He was okay. It was all new for me with a new team. Although I was riding for McCams, my crew was completely different. New bike. I'd never ridden the Superbike around BSB tracks before, so it was a little bit daunting. But I had a few crashes that year as well. But ended the year with 4 podiums, not far off a couple of race wins. So yeah, it ended okay.
So one of my questions from one of my Patreon members was from Stuart Leonard. He wants to know how many R1s you've written off.
R1s I've written off? I'd have to ask my crew chief spanner, but I don't know how many R1s I've actually completely totaled, because they've always been repairable. The one 20, maybe in the 4 years I've wrote off, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2.
It's hard to say write a bike off, because in BSB everything's replaceable. Like in the truck they have sub-assemblies of everything, whether it's forks, swing arms. So it's not like the bike just goes in the bin. There's always something that can pull off it.
You might like crash and you go straight into the barrier and you write the front end off. So you write the dash, the air scoot, the forks, the wheel, but the frame, swing arm, rear wheel might actually be all right. So it's just you write the front of the bike off. But been situations like that where I wrote the front of the bike off. I did that. I've done that at Brands before, and I think I did it at one round this year.
Did it at a test.
Did it at a test.
Curve.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it's totaled an actual bike. Do you know what? Cadwell Park this year was probably the only time I actually totaled the whole thing. I think the engine was the only thing they saved.
Do you want to
clip the grass and...
We'll come back to that.
Right.
The crashes in a
minute.
So
not as many as people think. I'm not that much of a crasher.
So... You like Josh Brooks as your teammate. I wanted to know what was the hardest year in BSB for you.
2019 was the hardest year.
And why?
Because I felt like coming back to BSB, everyone had a lot of expectation on me to perform. And when I feel like, I don't know if maybe I'm just looking at this at a different angle because it's me, but I felt like at the time when I was riding at the front, racing bar to bar with Leon Haslam at Silverstone, or I led pretty much the whole of the race one at Assen to finish third to Jake and Leon, and having 4 podiums, which not many people even get a podium in the rookie year. Like Rory had 2 this year, which was amazing. I think Brad Ray had 1 in his first year. So for me to have 4 was like a big thing for me. But I almost felt like, because I was in the McCams team, Josh Brooks is my teammate, I don't know, maybe coming from Moto2, people kind of just expected me to perform. So at the end of 2018, everyone had a lot of expectation on me to win. I nearly won at Silverstone, nearly won at Assen. And each race went by, it's like, I wonder if this rookie is going to win a race. And I felt like that put a bit of pressure on me. And I took that into 2019, where people then, from racing people like, that went the following year, like Josh Brooks, James Ellison, Christian Idden, Tommy Bridewell, Scott Redding had came back the following year, that I was one of the championship favourites from just being a rookie, which now thinking back, I think that was like a lot of pressure to put on someone that never even won a race before. People were touting me to win the championship, and I think that put a lot of pressure on me. I won my first race at the first round in 2019 at Silverstone. Had a good start to the year, maybe 5 or 6 podiums within the first 5 rounds. Put myself into the barrier at Brands hard at round 4, but then bounced back at round 3 and bounced back at Knockhill and challenged Scott for a win. And then went to Thruxton and broke my wrist. and then the rest of the year was really tough. I didn't have any podiums for the rest of the year. My lap times were slower than I was doing in my first ever year in Superbike. The bike wasn't as good as it is now. It was an okay package, but I didn't think we got the best out of it, me and Jason. He had a shoulder injury as well when Jason, my first year, was my teammate. So, yeah, I felt like there was a lot of expectation on me to perform, and I was performing-ish. But then when I broke my radius at Thruxton, then it was tough then. And then, yeah, it just went to beat for the rest of the year. And then, so 2019 out of the 4 years was the least enjoyable and toughest.
That's a lot of the questions I've had here are all of a similar thing. So we're talking about your crashes now. You've had just monstrous crashes. You've put bikes over barriers. You've been in the barriers. You've single-handedly actually moved barriers back.
At Brands twice. Yeah.
Because Taz hit the barriers that hard that they then realised that they need to move the barriers further away. So I don't know whether it's because you're light or what it is, but you do seem to manage to. You've hit the barriers a few times. The main question everyone wants to know is how do you do that in one race and then come back the next weekend and...
Crashing for me has never been a problem as long as I haven't actually seriously hurt myself. Like even this year when I was crashing, I crashed at Cadwell, broke my finger. Like, don't know if it's a bike racing mentality or something within me that I think it's not a problem. Like, if I can get my hand in a glove and I can grip, then let's get to the next round, and that's what I did at Snetterton. Then I had that big crash at Silverstone this year as well when I high-sided, broke my metacarpal and my ulnar. But then, again, take some painkillers, get on the bike and go again. But I just never think... I think if you think about crashing and you think about hurting yourself and you think about the consequences and what could go wrong, and maybe I'm just a little bit brain dead and I think, right, let's just get back on the bike and not think about it. And I think maybe that's why I've kind of got away with some situations in the past, or I've had a massive crash and I've just got up and gone again the next race. Sometimes the crashes are too big where it puts me out for the rest of the weekend, like a couple of times it's happened at Brands, happened at Cadwell this year. Kind of, although I broke my finger and rode the next round, I was a bit beaten up in other parts of my body. So just don't think about it. If you're a bike racer and you want to race in the next one, if you get a bit of adrenaline in your body, adrenaline's an amazing thing. So you do a lot of things, and I think once you put that visor down, you get going, adrenaline's pumping, you don't think about it.
So if we just quickly touch on the amount of injuries you've had over the last few years, what have they been?
It's 2018. I broke in first round, morning warm up, broke my left wrist, but rode the next round, was fine, and then I went all of 2018 not really hurt myself. And then I had a massive crash at Assen where I crashed onto the start-finish straight, and just had a bit of concussion, and that was it. Went into the last round and again crashed going into Graham Hill in the wet in warm-up. Started my year crashing in warm-up and ended my year crashing in warm-up, and that was the end of my season in 2018. I just pulled some muscles in the back of my neck, but that was it. 2019 was the first... 2019's been the only time where I've had to have an operation where I broke my radius, my left wrist, and had a pin put in, which I've still got in now. But then again, I'm really lucky with the kit that I get to wear in Alpine Stars, and I feel like maybe me being, I don't know if it's being light or being flexible, or maybe just lucky that I seem to just barrel roll and get away with it. I'm always more beaten up than anything. I wake up the next day after a crash and I feel like I've been hit by a train, but I can always just get on the bike and manage it, sort of thing. So 2019 was the biggest. Didn't actually hurt myself for the rest of the year that year. 2020 I didn't have any injuries, I don't think.
What was the year you crashed in pre-season testing where you hurt yourself?
2019, in fact, broke. Oh no, 2019 I did break. Yeah, 2019. Then I crashed in. Had a really weird crash at a real slow corner, and it just like slapped me down on the other side of the bike. That was the worst concussion I've had. I was coughing up blood. I bruised my kidneys. I broke I forget what you call it now. Basically where your spinal cord goes, there's like at the bottom, there's little wings that come off it.
I don't know why I've got that in my head.
So it's a fin, some type of fin, and I broke L something and L something or other, L1 and L3 of that at the start of the year, but I still rode the rest of the test with a broken back and broke my back and spinal and then I actually had that exact same injury again when I crashed at Brands GP at round 3 or 4. Exact same thing, bruised my kidney, broke the little fins. It's not bad when you break them off your
It's
back.
not bad when you break your back, just...
It's obviously your main spinal cord, but those fins, people break them off and it's not too bad. So it is painful, like moving, but it's not as bad as it sounds when you say I broke my back. It wasn't spinal. So then I went. So that was there. Then I broke my radius. Then I was fine. Then 2020, I think I didn't. Just trying to think. I don't think I hurt myself in 2020. I need to look. And then this year, as injuries go, I was kind of getting not that I was crashing. I didn't even crash that much up until Cadwell Park, which I don't know what was that, round 7 maybe. I was the only rider to finish every single race. Everyone else had had a crash in a race or a DNF, so I felt like I jinxed myself definitely going into that weekend because a lot of people spoke about it, and then I ended up crashing in the first one and not racing the rest of the weekend. But in that one I broke my finger.
Do you want to show me your finger now?
I don't know. Can you?
That used to be straight.
Yeah, it doesn't straighten. It's not funny. So it doesn't straighten. And then that was tough because it actually felt right at Snetterton. I was fine. And then I went to Silverstone, and then, as I said before, I broke my ulnar 5th metacarpal, which runs along there. So then I had a wonky swollen finger still that wasn't repaired. Then it went into a broken metacarpal here, and then into a broken ulnar. So this whole left-hand side of my hand's a bit mashed. It's still sore now, to be fair, and there's like a bit of a callus that's appeared here, and yeah, doesn't look pretty. So that was... I haven't actually had that many injuries, and I haven't crashed a lot, but my crashes have always just been quite big. That's what the unfortunate thing is, like putting it into the trees at Brands, putting it into Graham Hill at Brands, putting it into the last corner at Brands, into the barriers.
Put it into the trees again at Brands.
Twice, yeah. Cadwell had a big one. Assen onto the start-finish straight. There's just been a crash at the end of the back straight at Brands. There's been a lot of commitment over these 4 years, but I feel like I've never shied away from committing. And when some people might have, but I feel like when you get an understanding and you can tame that and you can manage that, along with a bit more experience, has probably helped. Then it turned into something.
That's one of the questions here from one of my patrons. It's, what was the step? What happened? How come you can do it now without crashing?
Yeah, I think last year was good for me, actually understanding in lockdown what I need to do to perform. Maybe I don't need to go balls out every session, every lap. Think about the job a little bit more. In 2018 it was quite raw. I was new to it. I was new to a superbike. I had a lot of raw speed, but I didn't actually know how I was going fast. Like 2018, I qualified on the front row, or maybe I was 4th at Brands at round 6. I can't remember what, it was like a 24-6 or 24-7. I haven't gone faster than that in these 4 years. So that very first year, 6 rounds in. And but when you watch that lap back, like I am crashing every corner, and I think there's just a lot of, in that first year there was so much raw speed that it was obviously in there there was talent, or not talent, or I don't know what, there was something good in there, but I didn't know. Like if you asked me in 2018 how did I do a 24-6 round Brands, I wouldn't have been able to tell you. Like I'd have just said, I was just riding the bike, whereas now I have a bit more of an understanding, I think. And 2020 was good because we made a step with the bike which allowed me and Jason to, we still had to ride as hard, but the lap times came easier, and then 2020 was a big step for me, that I could win a race and understand how to save the tyre and be at the front. And like in one of my races at Donington, I kind of got to the front and managed the tyre and decided to push on certain laps and save tyres on the other laps, and that was a good step. And then you end the season good, and then you have an off season, and then everyone resets, everyone comes back with being fitter or new bikes or new teams. So you I wanted to take all the positives out of all my 3 years, 2018, 2019 and 2020, and put that into one proper season of 2021 and learn from the negatives. And I even said that at the start of the year, that's what I wanted to do, and that's what I did. 2020 was an amazing year. It was the most podiums I'd had, it was the most wins I'd had, but I only qualified in the top 10 once. I was winning races from 12, qualifying 12th place and crashing on a Friday or something like that. So I just worked on that this year, worked on my qualifying, and it wasn't about something clicking. I think it was just putting all the pieces of the puzzle together, and it finally all coming together nicely. And I think that's not just one thing happened, it was maybe just bit of raw speed from 2018, a bit more of an understanding in 2019, or the crashes in 2019 that I learnt from. 2020 was slowly, I was 75% of the way there, and I had that 25%, but I just needed to put it together, and that's what 2021 gave me. Jason pushed me a lot this year, had a great bike, we improved the bike again. I was another year older, more experienced, and I think that's what it just all came together. And you win one race, you understand, I think when I was winning one race and then I'd win another one, there were totally two different scenarios, where one might be a last lap battle scrap and one might be I led pretty much the whole race, and then one I might have saved the tyre at the start and pushed at the end. So kind of learn as each round by round goes on, and I think that played a part as well. Each win and each podium and each race this year kind of gave me more knowledge and understanding of what to do in the next one. And the last 3 rounds were really good, or the last 5 rounds really were really good for me from Cadwell onwards, and yeah, ended up getting the job done.
And it's funny, MTN have actually been here today asking questions and talking to you, and the one thing that's funny for us was, because they obviously see all the riders, and I know how relaxed you were going into the last rounds, and when they were talking, it was like they thought you hadn't even realised what was going on in the last round. Was that a conscious effort to be that relaxed, or did it just happen? Or
it was maybe 50-50. I was telling myself in situations, in interviews, or when I was in front of the camera, or people just generally asking about the weekend, I just had using my experience from when I won in 2016 in the Supersport class, I had some really good advice from you, Dad, Michael Laverty, Rob Mack. I spoke to him before the weekend, and I just kind of took everything, all little bits from each conversation, and just decided what I was going to do and how I was going to approach the weekend. I didn't change my approach in the way that I just wanted to try and win all 3 races, which I managed to do, but people try and add pressure onto you by asking about the championship and what happens if you lose it, or there's 25 years since you and your dad, or since your dad won the championship, can you do it? And I just decided I was just going to try and be so level-headed and not give anything away and just treat it as a normal weekend, and that's what I did. And the more I kept, maybe the more I was making a conscious effort to do that, then the more I was relaxing myself, and then I just was so chilled the whole weekend. I qualified on the front row in sketchy conditions where I could have just rode around and just not pushed at all or taken a risk, but I felt so comfortable and calm in myself that I didn't feel like I was taking a risk to do that. And yeah, got to that Saturday race, won the Saturday race, and then it just made my job so much easier. I have a lot of self-belief, and I was telling myself that everything was going to go to plan. I don't need to worry, it's going to work out, and it all did. So yeah,
championships are funny. I'll just check how long time we've got. We're still alright, because I'm just laughing to myself as you were saying this, because I've not even told you this, that I'm not religious in the slightest bit. We're not a religious family.
No.
I started praying at the weekend, and I have no idea why. I'm on the grid watching and thinking, I'm going to say a prayer. And I'm like, why has that happened?
Yeah.
So that was championship. It was absolutely amazing. We've done it. The next question everyone wants to know is, Well, I want to know two things. One, what's happening between now and Christmas, because we're not racing now.
Yeah.
And then answer that second. Firstly, what are you going to do next year? What's the plan?
Your guess is as good as mine at the moment. No, I've made it no secret, and when I came back to BSB, the dad kind of drilled into me that we're not getting complacent in BSB. You can have an amazing career there, and if I didn't go to World Superbike and I did stay in BSB, then it's great, and it's an amazing championship. It's the best domestic championship in the world, and get to ride some great bikes for some great teams. So, but my goal is always just to go back to World Championship and go to World Superbike, and it's something that I've just wanted to do for a long time, and I kind of had in my head that if I am performing in BSB or I am winning, then maybe there's an opportunity to go there, and a couple of opportunities have arose this year, but I've also said I'm not just going to go for the sake of going and do 1 year and get spat back out and come back to BSB. If that did happen, then that's fine, but I want to make sure I'm going there and I'm doing it properly and I'm riding the right bike and the right team for me, and yeah, it's nice that people are interested and people are showing an interest in BSB and myself, but everything has to be right. So there has been some opportunities, and we're still talking to these people now. But if it doesn't come off, then I'll just probably end up riding for McCams Yamaha again in BSB, which is fine, and come back and try and use the number 1 plate and try and retain that title. So yeah, if I go to World Superbike, then it would be amazing. It'd be like a dream come true, and if I don't, then get to ride an amazing bike in BSB again for the best team in my opinion. And yeah, use the number 1.
And what about now? What's like, you've won the championship, you've been in your dream for a long time.
Yeah, it's been the biggest anticlimax of a week this week, because I had a 2-day hangover after Brands because we had a big party Sunday night. I hadn't drank for maybe 10 months, and I just went all out on Sunday, regrettably. But I had a 2-day hangover, and then I got some kind of man flu, which seems to be going around at the moment, which I probably picked up on Sunday night. I did COVID tests and stuff, and it was all negative, but I've had a proper... Honestly, I thought I was going to die on Tuesday. Like, I was coming off a hangover with man flu, and as all of us men know that man flu is the worst type of flu, so the worst type of illness. So yeah, I've suffered with that all week, but I've now recovered. Tomorrow I go on holiday just for a few days with my friends to Barcelona, just from some friends that from school, and go there, come back. Then I go to... We've got some like sponsor things to do, McCams. I've got to see some personal sponsors. I'm planning on going to Italy to Yamaha Europe to visit them. Then I got the NEC. And then there's some kind of awards evening, which I can't really say too much, but going to that. And then it's Christmas. Then the next thing, it's the 1st of January, and then it's about restarting and going again. So, and in between that, I've been ill this week, so I haven't really been doing much training, but just ticking over my training, getting a plan together with Loughborough Uni, and getting a plan ready for 2022. But yeah, it's been pretty cool winning. It's pretty much sunk in now, which is cool, and yeah, it's honestly, I thought winning the BSB would be absolutely amazing, and it was. And on the day it was, when you've got a 2-day hangover and a man flu, you soon forget about it, and there's more problems in life. But yeah, I think a little bit. I actually had a headache that pushes in your temples. Monday, Tuesday, which I googled, because that's what you do. You Google your illnesses, and that headache's caused by some kind of stress, anxiety build up, which probably had over the past 3 rounds, or maybe the last round, and it was just a relief of that. So I've absolutely hammered my body all year with injuries and training and stuff, so I think it's nice to take a bit of time off whilst I have got time to do that. And yeah, I've got a bit of partying and celebrating to do, definitely. I'm not going to hold back on that. So 5 days in Barcelona, I'm sure I'll get that out of my system by then. But yeah, just enjoy the moment, and then get ready for 2022.
I don't know where that just cut off there, but that was the ending of the video anyway. So probably cut off just his mid-Barcelona trip. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next week.